attacks are increasing quite significantly. Nobody's immune. It's colleges, mining companies, as you mentioned, hospitals, healthcare. These criminal gangs and others have realized that there's a lot of potential victims out there, and they're ramping it up.
Back on Closer Look on this Thursday, October the 16th. I'm Scott Sexsmith with Michael Friscolanti. No headphones again. Another special occasion.
Special.
It's special. That's one word for it. It's always fun to pop into the Sudaday newsroom upstairs and listen to the team kind of kibitzing about what's going on, what they're covering. Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader in town. So it was kind of nice to, kind of put... my ear to the door and catch some of the inside stuff.
Yeah, he's actually over here for an overnight stay. He came in Wednesday and is leaving today, which is Thursday.
Right.
Stopped by some local businesses, talked to some local workers, gave some brief media time to some local reporters. I do just want to say, put it out there, that a lot of people ask us, well, how come you don't have Pierre Poilievre on the show? We've had Prime Minister Trudeau and Prime Minister Carney both on the program, and people think that somehow we don't want to have all political spectrums on the show, and that's not the case at all. We have reached out to Poilievre's team multiple times over the last many months.
Yes. Dating back before the election.
Yeah. We talked to them again just last month, trying to arrange something, and then we found out he was coming to the Soo. We offered to have it here in the studio or to go wherever he is and do it. We respectfully just want to point out to everybody that it's an open invitation.
Yes.
Mr. Poilievre is always welcome to come and join us on the show and talk about the issues that people care about. We're in 27 local communities around Ontario.
Right.
There are many supporters of Pierre Poilievre in those communities and many undecided voters as well who are obviously interested in what he has to say about how he thinks the Carney government's doing their job.
And I would take that one step further if we can look provincially, because we get the same question about the Premier. Mm-hmm. We've had Marit Stiles on. We've had Mike Schreiner on from the Green Party. We've had Bonnie Crombie on. And we get the same question about Premier Ford.
Yes.
We have extended those same invitations to his staff and to his office. And like you said, the door is always open. We're just waiting for a response.
And I'm confident, Scott, I'm positive it's going to happen one day.
It will.
Maybe the two of them not together. I doubt they'll come on together.
That would make for a great show.
But definitely, I do hope that happens.
Okay, we're going to talk some cybersecurity in a moment, but let's stick with provincial politics for a moment. We had Marit Stiles here a few shows ago, and we spoke about what was going on with the Ford government. And now she has requested the Integrity Commissioner to launch an official investigation.
Yes, when we had her on the show, she was in Sault Ste. Marie last week, and she talked. We asked her about our exclusive reporting from the Trillium, which I believe just landed that day. We've doing a lot of reporting about the Skills Development Fund, but that particular day was the story about how Labour Minister David Piccini had actually attended the Parisian wedding of a lobbyist, a close friend and a lobbyist who actually helped two clients get a significant amount of money from the Skills Development Fund. And we talked to her about that. And just yesterday, she actually has written to the Integrity Commissioner. She's asking for an investigation, sort of to see if, that lobbyist may have gone a bit, over the line by inviting the Labour Minister to his wedding. This is all because of the exclusive reporting that our team at the Trillium does. In particular, Charlie Pinkerton, Jack Cowan, and Jessica Smith-Cross have really been all over this fund for many weeks now. It's great to see that our reporting has that kind of impact, and it'll be really interesting to see how the Integrity Commissioner, what happens with this request.
All right, stay tuned for that. Also last week, we had the executive director of the BOLO program be on the lookout, and there's an update where that's concerned.
That was one of the more fascinating interviews we've done. Max was a great guy, and because he taught, a lot of guests say the same thing to us, which is, I do the rounds, I do a lot of media, but I don't actually get the time to have a longer conversation like the ones we have here. And he really appreciated that. And he kind of even got a little emotional talking about the pride he has in doing this job, right? Actually, the fact that this program has helped apprehend, a couple dozen, high-profile, dangerous criminal suspects. And, you could tell it meant a lot to him. The show aired. If you haven't seen it, it's a great interview. It's a great conversation about this program, how it started and what it does. And one of the top 25 guys, I believe he's the sixth most wanted man in Canada from Montreal, Pierre Philogène was arrested in Vancouver, actually,
right. Yeah.
By transit police who recognized him. We don't know yet if they recognized him from the AI-enhanced mugshots that are on the Bolo website, which, again, if you haven't checked that out, that is super cool. I spent a lot of time just staring at those heads moving around.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. So
boloprogram.org, I believe
Bolo
is the website.
So this person has been caught. This list got a lot of attention. I believe locally there's an alleged killer wanted from a crime in Sudbury that happened recently.
Yeah.
He's on the list. It's interesting how, this podcast is kind of like on top of all the big news in the world, Scott. It's like, we talk about it and then something happens.
And then it happens, like that.
I mean, I don't want to take credit for this arrest, but
we will.
Maybe we will.
And why not?
No, we won't.
Okay, it was back in December, if I recall, a number of school boards in Ontario went through some data breaches, cybersecurity issues. We talked to Sai Huda, who is a renowned cybersecurity expert several months before that, but a big crack in the case from December.
Yeah, I'm trying. This was a software that a lot of school boards in Ontario were using. It was hacked, and a lot of student data was breached, including the Toronto District School Board and some other school boards. And this has happened before. We've seen this happen here locally as well a couple of years ago. Very concerning to parents to get that letter in the mail or someone saying, "Hey, our data has been breached, and all the information related to your child is out there potentially in the dark web. Their name, their address, their date of birth,
and their medical records,
potentially school records, independent education plans, all kinds of different things. Power School was the software that was hacked.
Right.
In the United States, a person actually pleaded guilty and was sentenced, I believe, to 4 years this week in prison for that attack. And, we've seen this over and over again. We've talked about this on the show, the rise of cybercrime and ransomware, in particular, ransomware attacks. And we did talk to Sai Huda, who's kind of a leading expert in Canada. He is a leading expert in Canada on this issue. And when we had him on the show, we had a really in-depth, engaging conversation about why this crime is skyrocketing, who's benefiting, how people should react if they are attacked. Should they pay the ransom? Should they not pay the ransom? And I think based on the news that happened this week, it's a great opportunity to kind of revisit his advice to people and his thoughts on how this crime has impacted so many. The obvious question is why? Are we seeing more of it lately, and why?
Yes, absolutely. The attacks are increasing quite significantly. And nobody's immune. So you mentioned some of these organizations, but it's a wide range. It's colleges, it's mining companies, it's, as you mentioned, hospitals, healthcare. So nobody's immune. And the reasoning is, as I mentioned earlier, is that everybody is digital. So everybody uses email. I mean, who do we know that doesn't use email? Everybody, as far as an organization, has a website. I mean, who do we know doesn't have a website? So just because of those two factors, they can be attacked from the internet, from thousands of miles away. So the bad guys, they could be a criminal gang who's in there for the money, or it could be a sponsored group by a foreign, government, perhaps, hostile nation like China, or it could be just a lone wolf. So anybody who has access to the internet, who knows quite a bit about the way the web works, who knows about codes, can use their knowledge in a bad way. Those are the dark, side, if you will. So that's why these criminal gangs and others have realized that there's a lot of potential victims out there, and they're ramping it up because the defense is weak, in organizations, certainly in Canada.
Sai, you mentioned the bad guys. What exactly are the bad guys after?
Great question. So I'm glad you asked. They're after two things. One is data, and the data could be customers' data, could be patients' data, could be students' data, information about individuals that are part of that organization, directly or indirectly. So everybody's got data, and the data involves not only name, address, but really passwords. That's really valuable. Also, obviously, other information like personal information, driver's license, and social services number, et cetera, et cetera. That data can then be used to commit additional attacks. So imagine getting hold of folks' passwords. If these folks are not savvy and really diligent, and they're using that password at different sites, Well, bingo, that password then can be used to start to get into other sites that they may be having access to, bank accounts, and others. Or the data could be sold on the dark web. That data has a lot of value in the dark web for other bad guys to use. So the data is really key. The other part is the impact. And so what they want to do is they not only want to steal data, but also they want to install ransomware. And ransomware is basically malware that encrypts data, file systems, so you can't operate. And now what they want to do is they want to say, hey, guess what? You want to unlock everything? Pay us some money. And so it's a double dipping, if you will, because now I've got your data, but I also locked you out. So if you don't pay me, then I'll leak your data and coerce you to pay me. So those are the two things that these guys are after. And generally, it's monetary is a primary gain or motive. But then, as I mentioned, it could be something even more strategic or national security if they're sponsored by a foreign government who not only wants the data, but also wants something of even more value like IP, product designs, code, a whole host of other things that they can use to get a competitive advantage as a nation.
Basically, these groups will go in and get into a system and ask for encrypt their data and ask for a certain amount of money to get it back. Does it range into the millions that some of these groups will ask for?
Yes, it does. Generally, it's anywhere from 2 million to 10 million Bitcoins.
Wow.
So pretty significant.
Mm-hmm.
And they know the impact, right? So imagine as an organization, you're locked out for days, weeks, maybe even a month. I mean, what would that do to your organization?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be scurrying, trying to figure out, geez, can we get it back up? Do we have backups? Mm-hmm. And now these ransomware have been designed to be pretty smart. So what they'll look for are not only the original files, but also backup files. Mm-hmm. So anything with, .bak, anything that might indicate it's a backup file. So, a bad idea is to have backup files on the same system. So you really got to have backup files that are offline, not accessible by the ransomware. But it's going to look for that. And really, it's impact. It's like they want to cause you harm, and they want you to go, okay, gosh, I'll pay you the Bitcoin and unencrypt because it's worth it. Mm-hmm. But the sad thing about it is they're untrustworthy. And so, law enforcement will generally recommend that you don't pay the ransomware. So, then you're in a catch-22. What do? Do you try to survive? And if you pay the ransomware, will they really give you the keys? Generally they do, but a lot of times they don't. They just walk away. They're the bad guys. Yeah. They're untrustworthy. How do you know they're going to give you the keys? They may or may not. It's up to them. The other part is they'll usually put in like a back door. And so even if you pay the ransom and they unlock it, you've got to really do a forensic exam at this point, because otherwise you don't know if they've left in some code there that they're going to come back in a month or 3 months or 6 months, and all of a sudden, it's deja vu again, and it's happening. It's happening where they're coming back in again.
Sai, what role does AI play in this? We've all heard and seen the powers of these programs like ChatGPT. What role is AI having where this is concerned?
Well, one area that is quite concerning is it's kind of like the internet. The internet has such amazing, value that it provides us on a daily basis, how it's transformed our life. We can look up things immediately. We can get things immediately. We can be so much more smarter immediately. We can be so much more productive. So much value it provides. But then there's a dark side, how the bad guys can now use it and abuse it to come after us and cause us harm. So same thing with AI. AI has such value because it essentially can make us smarter to the next level. It can predict things. It can look up things even faster and quicker and deeper. It can calculate things. It can make things happen much faster. So whole host of value is there with AI because basically it's simulating the human brain. Can never replace the human brain, but it can get pretty close. And it can do things just in an amazing way to help us make our life even enriched. So that's the good side. But then there's a dark side. And we're seeing that happen, where these bad guys are actually using AI to come in and do the attacks against us. So, for example, they've got AI now, which can do these scans, in nanoseconds of, hundreds of websites to go and look for certain vulnerabilities. So the attackers get in two ways. One is through the email, where they'll try to send you these phishing emails, try to fool you, and you happen to, not pay attention and download malware they're in, or from the web. They're going to scan your website, anything that's internet-facing, look for bad code or gaps, Well, that takes a lot of time. That requires a bad guy to spend time looking at it. Well, now with AI, it can be done within seconds. So that's an example of AI, kind of like the internet, where there's a good side and there's a bad side.
It terrifies me, to be honest. I mean, it's not a world that I completely understand, right? Just listening to you talk about what these guys are doing and the speed at which they're doing it is just, it's mind-boggling to me. You talked about the idea that there's the ransomware guys and the guys who are trying to steal this information, sell it on the dark web. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the value in that is if, these bad guys get a hold of these kind of private information, before you know it, there'll be a new credit card in Scott Sexsmith's name because they'll have all his ID. How prevalent is that? I mean, this must be just a $1 billion criminal operation, I assume.
Yes, it's pretty lucrative. These guys are making millions, and that's why they keep doing it. It's working and it's making them money. And so, unfortunately, these are professional criminal gangs. There's a whole industry. There's a training program that they provide. They recruit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on the dark web, you'll see these guys posting jobs. Look for wannabe hackers. There's these affiliate organizations. You can license the bad ransomware. As a service, pay them a cut. It's an unbelievable business that's happening. A multi-million-dollar.
Cy, before we let you go today, what's the one piece of advice that you would give any business or any homeowner, for that fact, that they should be implementing?
Yes. So I would say, think about your business or your organization kind of like your home. Would you sleep at night without making sure all your windows and doors are shut and making sure that you have some kind of monitoring, maybe a camera, but at least doors and windows shut, because if you don't, then what are you asking for? You're asking for trouble. The burglar's going to come in, shake some windows and doors and go, oh, look, there's a door open in the back. There's a window open. They're in, they're out. Same concept with your business, so you've got to have a good defense in place. So please implement the Canadian National Cybersecurity Standard and the controls with our help, and then test those controls, kind of like checking your doors and windows, because you are a potential target. And, you are digital. Don't think that you're not going to be attacked. No, everybody's potential targets, no matter how small you are, what you do. You could be a profit, non-for-profit, as we're seeing now. So please, let's Team Canada, let's go. Let's take it to the next level.
It's almost ironic that we were talking about AI, because when I look at myself, for the people who are watching this and not listening to it on the wherever you find your favorite podcast, that old studio looks like we're in a bunker. It's super dark. It's like the robots had already taken over.
The lighting was terrible.
Yeah, it's like
Thankfully, we've had some upgrades.
Yeah, it looks quite. It's all AI. I'm just kidding, of course. That's not true. That's not true. But it is. That conversation was super enlightening, and even watching it now again. Just the same questions and the same answers are all relevant today.
Yeah, and he makes a good point. I mean, there's a good side to it, but like most things, there's a dark side, an evil side.
Yes, yeah. If somebody can use this for good, there's going to be someone who's using it in all ways to try to rip us off and steal our money. I do think the question of the ransom has always been fascinating to me, whether you would pay a ransom or not, because as he touched on, if you're an organization that's been hijacked and hacked, and all of a sudden everything you do, everything you have that makes your business or organization run is locked up. Yeah, that's invaluable to you, right?
Of course it is. Yeah.
So you're thinking to yourself, do I really? If you don't have proper backups, as he talked about, you're either going to, suffer day after day, or you're going to say, okay, I'll pay whatever the money is, give me back my stuff, and we'll just take it as a loss and try to move along from this. But it's an impossible situation, I think, to be in, and we've seen this happen. And interestingly enough, this story that got us talking about this Power School hack that happened in December, they confirmed that they did pay a ransom.
Right. Yeah.
And they didn't say how much, but they confirmed that they did. And so I have no doubt that helped them get their things back and get things moving. Because if you don't, you're just kind of stuck in limbo.
But I guess there's also never a guarantee that even if you do pay the ransom,
that's right,
they're going to, do what you want them to do.
Absolutely shocking that a criminal might not keep their word. All right.
Who would have thunk it?
And I think, as I talked about too, that this idea that you can get, here's your stuff back, but they've put something in the system. So 6 months they'll come back and say, oh, we're going to get you again, right? It's a crazy world. It's a crazy situation, and it's happening every day. And
more and more.
Yeah, more. And
I mean,
more.
I don't know about you, but like I'm getting, not only emails, but I'm getting text messages. Mm-hmm. I'm getting these robocalls from Visa that my account has been compromised.
Oh yeah.
It's just so
and they're getting better and better.
They are.
But there was one, I can't remember what it was, that I had to really look closely at in my email, and I really wasn't sure. And then I finally realized it wasn't. But if you talk to people in the world of IT and tech developers, guys who are super smart, people who do that for a living, it's almost like a game, because all day they do talk about, well, we're deflecting something over here, we're keeping an eye over here, because someone's always trying to attack the fortress and get in. Yep. And that's part of the day-to-day operation, just keeping those guys out.
And it's just one click.
It's one click, yeah. So
that's what I do with your emails, because you never email me. So when I see your name pop into my inbox, I'm like, okay, is this legit?
You're like,
is Frisco really sending me an email?
He never writes me back.
Am I being fished?
That'd be fished. I'm going to reel you in on the next one. That was good.
Yeah, that's great. Cy Huda, good guy. And another tip, make sure your password isn't 1234.
Yeah, you still haven't changed yours. So if you're a hacker waiting to strike,
don't tell anybody.
You know where to go.
Right. Closer look at villagemedia.ca. Any comments? Sign up for the nightly email, closerlookpodcast.ca. We would love for you to do that. Derek Turner with the Night Off this evening show, produced by Zach Trunzo. For Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief here at Village Media, I'm Scott Sexsmith. Enjoy tonight. Go Jays. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 right here on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.